Hello, my wonderful subs and other listeners. So I've been keeping an eye on the Vallow proceedings, and I decided that I'd wait for 2 weeks before I said anything about it. What my observations are, what I think, and after all the testimony that we've received so far, and I think that the trial has done a very good job of covering a lot of testimony and covering a lot of ground in a very short space of time. We've had testimony from Melanie Gibb, Brandon Boudreau, Zulema, who was married to Alex Cox, which is Lori Vallow's brother. And it's all been quite riveting. And we've had, other testimony as well. It's been very riveting. And now let me just make it clear that it's not about putting her at the scene. It's not about her doing the heavy lifting. It's about establishing whether they can prove that there was a conspiracy, that she conspired to do this. So that's what they have to prove. And whether or not they can prove it and convince the jurors, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, they've already covered and shown enough proof that there was definitely a conspiracy going on. But what I found most riveting in all of the testimony, among all of the testimony, above all of the testimony, is the phone call, which I've already heard before, but the phone call between Lori Vallow's son, Colby, and Lori Vallow herself. And, he asks her, he questions her, he tries to reason with her time and time again. She brushes him off. She gives excuses. She doesn't answer the direct questions or the direct probes from her son. And there's a part in the actual audio, the phone call, where she laughs. She's actually laughing. Now, I can't diagnose anybody with anything, but I can make assumptions about somebody based on what I've observed. And I'm telling you, this woman has several personality disorders. The fact that she wanted to be excused from her own trial, she thought that she could actually be excused from her own trial, tells me that this woman, I think there came at some point, there was a mental break with her. Now, I'm not excusing her actions or behavior at all, but I think there came a point where she had a mental break, and I think she's probably had several personality disorders all her life. And she's just been able to cultivate this image of herself as a caring, loving mother for a very long time. And, she's a good manipulator, and she's attractive as well. And attractive people who are smooth talkers and suave and charismatic and seem caring are very easily able to manipulate people. But this is a woman who is not all there. Does she know the difference between right and wrong? Absolutely. Yes, she does. She knows the difference between right and wrong. She's certainly not incapable of knowing that there's a difference between right and wrong. So I don't believe that she belongs in any hospital. I believe that she is a devious person, and I believe that she belongs, where she should end up. But this is a woman who has several personality disorders, and she should be studied. Everything to do with Lori and Chad was about money. There's no religion. Religion was just a tool and a vehicle they used to get what they wanted out of people. It was about collecting life insurances, collecting beneficiaries. That's what it was really about. And the religion was just all a way to, fool people into thinking that they were spiritually above others and above other people and superior to others, and that they were in an elite group of people that were going to go to the next phase or the next place. So I don't believe that religion played any part of this other than to make people believe that they were something that they were not. I think the root of all of this is money. When you look at the root of everything, it was about money and getting people out of the way that they thought were in the way. You notice all of Chad Daybell's children are alive and well. most of the people that are not around are linked to Laurie. And, a lot of those, including Charles Vallow, he had a life insurance policy. And she tried to collect that life insurance policy with a phone call. We have that as proof. She tried to collect that insurance policy as soon as she could. And when she realized that he'd signed over the inheritance, the money, the insurance policy to his sister, Kay, you could see that she was very, very upset about that, because that was the reason. That was the main reason to get rid of Charles Vallow, was to collect the life insurance policy. And, so it was monetary reasons, but also so that she could, clear the way so that she could marry Chad in a timely fashion. And that's why Tammy had to go, because they wanted to get married. At the end of this podcast, I'm going to leave a blooper up, because I was calling Colby Corey. So I'm going to leave that up for you. And I'm going to make a series of bloopers one of these days. And I'm going to put them all together so you can hear them. Because, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I forget names. Sometimes I make mistakes. That's just life. So anyway, you hear Colby pleading with his mother to give him answers, trying to understand what has happened here. And you can see that she just has no emotional attachment to him or to what has happened at all. She's completely emotionally detached from what has happened. I think ultimately speaking, she wanted to be free of any responsibility. She wanted to be free of anyone that stood in her way. And she ultimately wanted to live her life out in a luxury paradise like Hawaii, which is beautiful. And I think she just wanted to be a rich woman, in a kind of love bombing relationship with Chad, because that's what it was. And she wanted to be completely free of any responsibility. I think that she found JJ difficult to deal with. And I think she found him increasingly difficult to deal with. And that's probably why she saw him as a dark spirit. And that was just her excuse to get rid of him. I just don't think she wanted... I mean, Tylee was almost fully grown. She would have probably been going to college or whatever. But for some reason, she just didn't want Tylee around either. So this was ultimately all about money. Getting money, getting life insurance policies, getting beneficiaries, getting their hands on any money possible. As long as they could get their hands on money, they were happy. And, anyone who stood in their way of their happiness had to go. I'm going to keep paying attention to this trial. I'm going to, be focusing on it. And I will report on it every 2 weeks. That's what I plan to do. Every 2 weeks, I will do another upload about what I found significant about, what I found significant that happened within that 2 weeks of the trial. And in this case, I found, despite all the wonderful testimony and all the ground that they covered, and I think they've done really well, that side, I found this phone call, listening to it again, I find it very, very riveting that she actually laughs, and, her son is really pleading and begging with her to give him answers. And you see, he's very emotionally attached to what's happened. And she is not. And, he did say, that's not the mother that I knew. This is not the mother that I grew up with. She's changed. And yeah, she did change at some point. I don't know what happened, but she did change. When you hear Corey pleading with his mom and asking her, Mom, I loved you. Mom, we had a family. Mom, how could you do all of this? She just doesn't take him seriously. I don't think she has any emotional attachment to what happened or what occurred. And I think she still doesn't. I think her dream was to live out her life with no responsibility. I think JJ was a handful for her. I think that she just didn't want the responsibility of raising him anymore. And even though Tylee had almost fully grown, for some reason, she just didn't want Tylee around anymore. And I think she wanted to free herself of raising children and that responsibility. And I think she wanted to collect as much money as she could, to live her life out in Hawaii, as free of any responsibility, and just make it all about her and Chad. I think that's ultimately what she wanted. She wanted to live a luxury life in paradise with no responsibility. I think she'd had enough of responsibility. At some point it came that she just couldn't handle that responsibility anymore. She wasn't cut out for it. Her personality didn't adhere to being the mother of two children that she had to be responsible for. She just ultimately wanted to be rich. She wanted to live a luxury lifestyle, and she wanted to be free. And as that may sound, as unkind as that may sound, and not as great as that may sound, that's exactly what it is. And you hear Corey really pleading with her for answers, and she just refuses to give him any answers. She's just not interested. She's not emotionally connected to this at all, any of what happened. She doesn't have any feeling about it. This is all one big inconvenience for her. I'm going to pay more attention to the proceedings. I'm going to be watching and listening. I'm impressed with what I've heard so far. It's not an easy case to navigate. Sorry, it's not an easy case to navigate. But I'm going to continue paying attention to this trial. I really wish it was televised. I'm very disappointed that it isn't televised. But there you go.